Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm here with Ahmad. He is a inspirational and motivational coach. He's a mental health advocate, and he's a man of God. And I'm really inspired by Ahmad's story, and just speaking with him over Instagram. We haven't even met in person yet, but the light from his voice and just how his heart is, coming through these reels, and the message he shares is made me want to share his story with the world. And our first conversation, we even got a little emotional before we even recorded this podcast, because we both have these feelings as entrepreneurs: the loneliness, the heartbreak, the different trials and tribulations we go through as an entrepreneur that not a lot of people speak about. So in this episode today, we're going to talk a lot about those things that happen inside the mind. A lot of people think that as an entrepreneur, they just see the highlight reel. They see all the good things that are happening, but you don't see the behind the scenes, the sweat, the grind, the tears, the blood it takes to get to where we're at. And we have a long way to go, but I'm so excited to have Ahmad on this podcast episode. So Ahmad, thank you so much for coming, brother. And brother, just share a little bit about who you are, where you're at right now, and how did you get into this space?
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for even bringing me on and allowing me the opportunity to be here with you and Bet's CEO's major platform. My thing is, when you go through life, you got to learn from it, truly learn from it. I started getting into this space of mental health and even motivation and coaching because of my depression and going through mental health issues. I always tell people that don't create a version of you based off survival, because if you base your personality off of survival, your personal reality will become survival as well. So with that being said, I went through a depression stage. My sister passed away at 25 years old. After her funeral, I wrecked my car totally, lost my job, lost my house. I lost my job, lost my house, lost my car, of course, and then it just put me into a place where I never even know that I could get into, I guess I could say. And now I can look myself in the mirror and not know who I was, literally. Not saying I didn't recognize the picture I saw, but I just knew I didn't know myself spiritually or mentally. And so after going through that depression stage, after learning more about myself, I finally realized that I was in depression and I needed to get out of it. So that's what got me into the space of wanting to help other people and keep giving everybody knowledge and telling them about my experience to where it can help somebody else.
That's amazing, Ahmad. That's so inspirational hearing how, like, being torn down with all those things that happen in your life. I've learned that as a man, those are defining moments. We can either let that moment destroy us, or we can let that moment become our strength. And I'm so glad to be speaking with you today and to be talking to you today to see what you've overcome, what you're doing. And you're inspiring me, brother. Like, even my content, I love to share the same message with my audience, like the mental health part and the trials, the tribulations, the heartbreak, because people don't like to talk about that. It's not sexy, but it's real things real people go through. And the more we share those vulnerabilities with people, the more that we can help people get a hold of that mental health part that needs to be taken care of. It's like when you go to the gym and we do all these training, coaching sessions to make our business stronger, but we don't always work on our mental health to get stronger. So it's amazing seeing what you're doing, brother. And I wanted to see too, man. So you shared a little bit about all of the struggles you went through at the beginning of your journey. How did that turn you into what you are now? You did mention you're in this platform, you're a mental health advocate coach. How did you start, and like what's the biggest impact that you've been able to do with your platform?
So the biggest impact has been helping other people. Just talking about numerous people that you would not even imagine, like even celebrity clients and all. I'm able to help them see that whole journey. Like, I'm able to help them get it step by step to go through the whole staircase, but don't focus so much on the goal that you create anxiety, but also look at each step that you have to take day by day. And honestly, through this journey, it helped me. Like, I was able to see things from so many different perspectives and really be able to use my past experience to then help and impact other people. Like, that's my whole purpose in this world, is to use my voice and to help other people get to their destination. I can't do it for you, but I can motivate you to get there,
I like what you said there. I can't do it for you, but I can help motivate you to get there. So a lot of the times we need that motivation. You know, there's a big difference between, because people always ask me like, John, how do you consistently do what you do? And you know, you're a military guy as well. You were in the military, so thank you for your service too, brother. I think you said 10, 11 years as well. You were in the National Guard.
Yeah.
That's a long time. That's commitment right there. That's discipline. Those are things that the military ingrains in us. And I actually want to go into that a little bit. But the biggest thing right now is discipline. A lot of people, you know, motivation is very temporary, which is good. Sometimes you need that. But the discipline is where the magic happens. The discipline and showing up every single day and making it happen no matter what. Even though you're tired, even though you don't feel like doing it, even though you're sad, you still show up. And that's what moves the needle forward, bro. But motivation is also necessary. You need both of those together. But to go a little bit into your military background, if you could share a little bit about, you know, what did you do in the military, and then how did it, you know, get you into the space you are now? How did it help you with your military experience?
Yeah. So I come from a big military family. My dad was in the military. I have a sister that's still active today, and I had 3 brothers who were in the military. So I come from a military background family. So growing up, I was already in the military. Before I even
We call it military brats thing, right?
So literally my dad would come early in the morning on a Saturday, tickle my toe, hey, get up, it's 5 o'clock, let's get in the yard. Like, bro, it's the weekend. You know what I mean? So yeah, so my military journey, man, been in for 11 years, still currently active right now. I would have the 88 mic, and then even did a little bit of 92 Yankee, a little bit with a, you know, dual MOS. And now, man, it's to the point.
What are those, for the people that don't know what MOSs are, what are those positions?
Oh, so truck driving to supply.
Okay.
Like dual MOS. When I tell you that this journey has been amazing, it's been, like I said, the goods and the bad, but at the same time, I've watched myself grow into the person I am today. I remember watching certain leaders, and I'm like, I would never be that type of leader. And I had to learn from that. And then now I'm learning to be a servant leader, where I'm putting my soldiers before me and really showing that I can lead them, not by in front, but I'm leading them from the back, you know, to help push them, to show them the potential that they have. Because I had a leader that showed me that, Ahmad, you have potential too. And I still have that within me today.
That's amazing, Ahmad. I definitely resonate with you on that in the military. And thank you still for serving. I didn't know you're still active. That's amazing, bro.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I learned too was that you see what are the good leaders and what are the bad leaders like. And then it teaches you, even though you see both, it shows you what not to do and what is good. Because I've worked for leaders that, you know, they would be like, do as I say, not as I do. They wouldn't actually do what they would tell you to do. And then I had leaders that would go out there in the field with you that didn't even have to be there, you know, where it's really hot. They put on all the gear. They come on out there, a morale check on everyone. And they actually want to serve. And that's the big thing, like you said, is servant leadership. Servant leadership and transformational leadership. Those are the 2 biggest forms of leadership that I'm, even myself, that I'm trying to become more like. And it's amazing. I think being in the military, those are the biggest takeaways, is the leadership that it instills in us and the discipline. Because in the rest of the civilian world, you don't really see a lot of those leaders too much. It is there, but it's a lot more in the military that it's ingrained in you. So that's awesome. That's awesome, man. What would you say your biggest struggle was in the military, and how did you overcome it?
Oh man, depression. It's not even the major depression, but the struggle of, at any moment's notice, you have to be uprooted and leave just like that. And then adapt to a new environment, and you don't really have a choice. You have to adapt. You have to work. You have to, you know, maintain. You have to be disciplined. You have to do all those things while still, you know, learn this new environment. And you have to, or you kind of neglect what's going on back home. Because even though you're gone, you think life is not happening. No, life is still happening at home. So sometimes you can create a personality based off that environment that you're in. And as soon as you leave, you have to uproot yourself again and reset and leave who you were there, just to go back home and to be open to back to being with family, friends, and even loved ones. You know, you got to get back to that point of, you know, being not the old you, but the new you, and open as well.
I like what you said there, being open. And how did you first realize that you had depression? What does it feel like to have depression? Because when I left the military, I want to say that I've never felt that form of depression or anxiety ever in my entire life. And, you know, I was in for 11 years active duty overseas the whole time. I'm a reservist now as an IMA, but when I left, you lose that community, you lose that support system, you lose that supervisor that always checks on you, you lose the friends that are always going to check on you, you lose that mission, that purpose, the drive. I think that's the biggest thing, your mission and purpose. I didn't know what I was doing in life. I got out, became a real estate agent. I was like, I thought I wanted to do that. Everyone looked like they were making money, but it's not what I wanted to do. And I felt lost, bro. I felt completely lost. So when I say depression and anxiety hit me hard, last year was definitely the hardest year of my life, but that's where the most growth happened. Yeah. So with your experience, how did you know you had depression, and what did it feel like for you?
Oh, for me, like I said before, it was another one of those things where I looked in the mirror and I'm like bro, what's going on? Yeah. Like, when people say don't talk to yourself, hey, listen, we each one with whatever you want to do with yourself, hey, you can do it. But for me, I had to talk to myself. Like, I had to look at myself and be like, hey, this isn't you. You know, like one of my signs where my fingers used to always be so sweaty, and I would get around certain people and my anxiety would just go like kind of wild. And especially working at, a certain location, I had to deal with like different people. I didn't want to do the job because of the simple fact that I didn't believe in the mission that was at hand, but I understood it, trying to say a lot without saying a lot.
Secret squirrel stuff. Secret squirrel stuff.
Yeah. But no, I knew ultimately when it was time to when I got there, I went to survival, like I said, and then when it was time to leave, I understood that, hey, like, this isn't okay for me to just say I got to snatch back into things, act like everything's okay. No, I have to literally sit here and talk myself through it, because at this point in time, I'm all I got, other than God, but I'm all that I have at this point. So I gotta be real with myself,
You have to believe in yourself. That's something I learned through heartbreak. You got to believe in yourself, even like with family, because not your family isn't always going to be your biggest support. Unfortunately, we all think that that's family is going to support you. It's not bad or anything. It's just they're not wired, especially as entrepreneurs. We have a different mindset. And I'm not trying to say like, oh, we're different or we're better. We're just think differently, and not in a better way or anything like saying it's bad, but like when people don't support you and you're already in this 1% margin of like the population, it's even more lonely when your family doesn't even support you, or your girlfriend, and those were the hardest things for me to learn, that hey, not everyone's going to support you, and I had to learn how to support myself and love myself. And I know when we previously talked, Ahmad, we talked about heartbreak a little bit, so I'd like to go into that a little bit. You had told me a little bit about your story, if you could share with that, if you don't mind. What was your biggest heartbreak? And having depression too, how did you level up from that heartbreak?
Oh, man, I could write a book about this. I think my biggest heartbreak was like during a deployment and things of that nature. I put so much into other people or another person that I neglected myself. And anytime you do that, you love somebody more than you love yourself. That's a recipe for destruction, and that's ultimately what happened to me. I think sometimes we get in a space sometimes that we think that when we're in a relationship, we own the person. And what I mean by own, not necessarily own, but we like, hey, you're mine, because I mean, that's how we are. But once you understand that a person or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, anything, they're still an average person that deals with things, you'll start to come to realization. So like for me, Jody came through. And Jody,
people don't know what that is. Can you share with people what a Jody is? Because there's people that don't know what a Jody is, especially on a deployment.
Jody is the person that your girlfriend or significant other is with while you're gone. Okay, so Jody definitely came through, and once again, I was never mad at that person. I was just more disappointed at my significant other, because it's like you could have just talked about it instead of just making a decision for me. But I guess that's the biggest thing that happened to me, on deployment.
I'm sorry to hear that, Ahmad. And even with having depression, how did that affect you on a deployment, especially being miles away from home? Like, how did you overcome that? Because that must have been difficult. Because it's one thing to have a heartbreak and your partner is still living in the same city, but when you're deployed in a remote location and you find out about this, I can't even imagine what was going through your head and how you felt, and how did you overcome that?
You got to get up every day. Step by step. I definitely, my relationship with God got real strong, because that was the only person that was going to be able to help me through this. Okay. Because, military, sometimes you can think outside the box and say, all right, I can do this, that, and third. But when you really sit down and say, all right, at the end of the day, you got to have God in yourself. That's the only thing that you're going to have right now. You'll start to depend more on that. And I know that's kind of cliche for people to say, but no, for me, I needed that, because once again, I already went through a depression before. So now God needed to deal with my spiritual. And while I was on deployment, I was already dealing with my body. So my mind, body, and spirit had to come together. So that's how I got through that depression stage within the deployment,
That's amazing. So it turned you closer to God. I actually want to talk more about, having belief in God and the spirituality part, because for me personally, I grew up in a Christian household my whole life. I'd always go to church. Even in the military, I remember in boot camp, I went to church every Sunday because I wanted to get out from the dorms or the room, because we got free time outside of the little prison cell we were in. It was more so I enjoyed going, but I didn't really have the faith and the belief, even though I grew up in a Christian household. It's unfortunate that it took a recent heartbreak to really make me surrender to God. And sometimes we're human, we're not perfect. I still struggle. I still do a lot of worldly things. I still party, I still cuss. And I trying to tone that down a lot more from who I used to be, especially after the breakup. It turned me very toxic. Put me on that red pill, Andrew Tate stuff a lot. And a lot of that stuff is good for certain people, and it did help me. It's a tool, but now I'm dialing it back and being more centered and being more in what I guess a man of God. I'm trying to be more like that. And I'm not a Bible thumper. I don't try to force things on people, but I like to express how it's helped me, for one, grow so much. And it's so interesting feeling, bro. Like, for example, on Sunday, I had that loneliness feeling creep in again. And then I attended my uncle's church via Facebook Live. He has a church every Sunday. Service is on Facebook, so I tuned in. And every single time I listen to the service, there's always a message that's reaching out to me. And I'm like, how is it that the message that my uncle's sharing, it's exactly what I needed to hear at the exact moment. And it's helped me make a decision that I needed to make, or make me feel a certain way, or change me. And I can't even explain how it feels, bro. Like, before I would go to the services, I'd have this feeling of emptiness inside me. And we talked a little about it. I have a girlfriend. You said you have a girlfriend too. And it's not that they make you feel lonely, but there's still, I don't expect my girlfriend to feel that void inside me, because that's something spiritually I have to deal with myself and learn about myself. Because that's the last mistake I made, was expecting my partner to fill that void for me. Mm-hmm. And it's not them, it's God that has to fill that void for you.
Yes.
He's the only one that's going to make you feel whole. And that's what I've been neglecting my whole entrepreneurial life, the last 11 years, bro. And ever since I've, surrendered, like literally surrendered, and did more with less. That's what my coach told me. Do more with less by turning to God. Dude, that's when the magic's been happening. My business has doubled. My income has doubled. My team has doubled. All of these things that have been happening to me have been just dropping in front of me. I'm like, how is this even possible? And it's because God made it possible. Yeah. And like you said earlier, as cliche as that sounds, I'm even in shock sometimes. Like, how is this even possible? How are these connections coming my way? Like, and all the timing too. I'm like, how is this happening? Yeah. And now I know it's because of God, bro. Yeah. So it's nice meeting other people that are spiritual and believe in God, and they're not afraid to show it. And before, I used to be afraid to show it too, man. But now my thing is, people will either love you for who you are, or they won't love you. So don't try to make everyone love you. Make the people that already love you more by being you.
Ooh, God damn. Ooh, that's a bar. That's a bar, man. Good God, I like that one.
Use it for your next reel, bro.
I at you, bro.
I would actually like you to share a little bit about that. How did you start that series, going off of the topic of spirituality and believing in God? How did you go into that branding of, damn, I actually like that, because I was watching your reels and that's what hooked me, bro. The one that really got me was the one, you remember you were talking about how when someone leaves your life, stay out of because once that door shuts, I'm not gonna ever open it again. Because bro, like when I went through my breakup, it was devastating. I wanted that person back. I hired 3 breakup specialist coaches. I hired a therapist, spent like $10,000 in self-improvement. And that's how I leveled up so fast and grew. But my goal initially was I wanted this person back. I wanted to pull them back, even though they weren't for me. And by, you know, humbling myself and going to church more and doing the work through coaches, it made me learn my worth, and it made me realize that person doesn't even deserve me, doesn't even deserve the love I have. So that's real that you shared really resonated with me, bro. So if you can go over a little bit about what this branding on Damn is, and you know, how did you start making these reels?
It's so funny because once again, I know somebody's going to get this, but then some people won't understand. All right, so lock in, everybody. All right. Literally, God told me, He said, Ahmad, I need you to use your voice. Literally, Ahmad, I need you to use your voice. And once again, once you go from being in control, you know, your whole life to, all right, God, you got this. You gotta listen. So literally one day I'm on deployment, I'm in the room, and God was like, yo, just pick up the phone, fam. Pick up the phone and start recording. So I'm literally picking up the phone. And the first thing that came to my mind, I said it. And it was like, when you're going through your spiritual journey in life, you're going to lose a lot of people. But the people that you lose were only meant to get the unhealed version of you. And once I said it, it clicked to what I just said. And the first thing I could say was, dang, like, damn, that was hard. I said that. You know, so that's where damn came from. Literally, I shocked myself. So that's how that whole branding came in. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna say it no more, God. Like, that's a curse word. And then it just stuck from there. And then I just kept going on with it. But then yeah, just like I said, on that deployment, using my voice, God telling me to use my voice, and I just started using it from there. Because if anybody looks at my further content or earlier content, bro, I used to do funny content. Like, I was a comedian, okay? But then God was like, no, bro, you got to use this purpose. You got to use what's inside of you. And that's what I started doing, man. Literally.
I love what you're doing, Ahmad. Keep it up, bro. And I love what you said that God spoke to you to use your voice. And I want to go into that a little bit more. Like, even for me, I don't even know how to explain it, but you just know that this is what you're destined to do. This is your mission. This is your purpose. Before the breakup, bro, I mean, even now I'm working on business. I'm, you know, making money, but my mission was just to make money, you know, stack that bread, you know, and just live that life of freedom, which is great. You know, you need to have that. Yeah. But there's a bigger mission at hand with helping other people, for me, that are going through heartbreak, people that don't know what their worth is, especially men that don't know what their worth is. Because if you look at if we go into suicide statistics a little bit, men commit suicide far more when they are broken up within relationships. It's crazy. And even the military, we see the statistics. It's 22 a day. 22 veterans commit suicide per day. And that's, I had a couple of friends in the military that committed suicide. And that's always a sensitive topic for me. But to know that men are committing suicides, and I'm not just saying only men do, I know it happens with women too, but hearing that even some of my friends that have committed suicide because their partner cheated on them when they were deployed, or they left and they had a family, it breaks my heart. Because it's like, how does someone get to that point in life and just think that that's the best solution? I've never personally gone through that, so I can't speak on that. But I feel like, you know, when your mission and purpose is aligned and you know this is what you need to do, you'll know. So like with you, how did you know that this is what you need to do? This is your calling, Ahmad. You need to use your voice for this. Like, because for the people out there that they don't know what they need to do in life, they don't know what their mission is. What would be a tip you would give them to help them? Hey, this is what your mission is. This is how you can find your mission. What tip would you give for that?
Whatever you're great at doing without even trying, look more into that. Like, literally, I ran from my purpose so long. Like, I always knew I had a way with words because my father had a way with words. But then in my earlier stages in life, I'll be honest, I used it for the wrong things, okay? I would use it on a different woman. Yeah, I know exactly what to say to get her, you know, and I would use it in so many different forms. But that's when I was younger and immature. But when you become a man, you put away childish things. And so that's exactly what I did. I started using it to speak life into people instead of take life away from people.
Mm. That's a good bar right there too.
Bro, that's a bar.
From this one, bro. That was really good. Yeah, wow. How do you deal with ego, because we all go through that. And, so my mentor told me ego stands for edging God out.
Ooh,
So it stands for, I'll say that again. Ego stands for edging God out. And I think as entrepreneurs, especially when we start to really become successful and you start leveling up and you start really making money, or you start to get more engagement and you feel more confident in yourself, like, yeah, I did that. And, God helped you do that too. But it's still, we're human. It makes you kind of cocky and it gives you ego. And I definitely have an ego, bro. And I'm always trying to check myself. I even tell my boys to check me if my ego, I'm asking you, bro, if you see my stories and I get too, my ego gets to big, check me too, because how do you check yourself with that, especially as an entrepreneur and especially seeing the content you make? How do you stay humble? That's always the hardest thing. How do you stay humble?
I got you. Real quick, let me get my charger. Computer button die. Real quick.
Oh, go ahead, bro.
Get my charger real quick. My bad. Right here. Right here. Oh. Oh. Okay. I saw my computer. I was like, what in the world?
Is it your camera?
Uh-huh. No, it was my computer. Okay.
Oh, your computer. Okay. It's good though. This is Zoom because or Google Meets, because my editor is just gonna he'll cut this, so no worries, bro.
And that's why I wanted to pause right after you asked the question. But yeah, hold on. I'm on the charge right now. All right, so we're good. All right, we're good. All right. Am I in the same position?
Yeah.
All right, okay, cool. All right. And you asked me the question about ego. All right, right?
How do you stay humble?
Okay, all right, you ready? You want to count down?
3, 2, 1.
I mean, when it comes to ego, I always learn to be humble. Because when you go through so many different stages in life, you'll understand that you can lose it just as quick as you got it. And coming up in a big family of 9, I'm always used to sharing. I'm always used to being caring. I'm always used to just being as humble as possible. Because I've watched my older siblings go through things. And now that I'm at the stage in life right now, if I continue to stay humble, man, I'll grow. And once you really understand that you're just the vessel, you won't ever say, all right, I'll get too big headed. And yes, it's good to feel yourself. Like, it's good to hype yourself up and motivate yourself and be dedicated. It's good to amp yourself up sometimes because you need it. But I try not to get too much into it or have that alter ego, because once you create that false personality, it's hard for you to get away from it, you know?
That's so true. Like, it's hard to get away from that false personality, that ego.
Yeah.
Would you say there's a good time? Would you say there's an appropriate time to have ego when it's necessary, or like it's like a tool, or would you say it's better to stay humble all the time?
Oh, that's a hard question. Let me tell you why. Because, like, for me, I'll really probably go out for my birthday, like go all out for myself, because I'm like, all right, I've worked hard, I've got to this point now. But other than that, I mean, I'm not going to schedule my ego. I'm gonna just let it flow. You know what I mean? I'm not going to schedule it, but anytime, I mean, if you feel like, hey, I need to amp myself up, or I did really good this week, I mean, celebrate yourself. You have to, because nobody else will do it for you. So yeah, but just have that perfect balance, you know?
I love what you said there. Celebrate yourself. And I want to go into that a little bit about self-love and loving yourself, because, bro, before my heartbreak, everyone always told you, love yourself, know your worth. For me, I thought I knew my worth. I thought I loved myself. I was confident and stuff, but I didn't truly know what it meant to love yourself until you get, it's kind of ironic. I saw a quote, it takes getting your heart shattered for you to learn how to love yourself. I was like, wow, that's crazy. It takes your heart getting shattered for you to learn how to love yourself, which is so crazy. Because, I want to give an example. So for my birthday was in March.
Yeah.
And normally, we all celebrate one day out of for your birthday. And for me, I was like, you know what? I've leveled up and I learned what it meant to love myself. And I really am able to now enjoy my own presence. Even if I go somewhere by myself, eating by myself, going to the movies by myself. I never used to be able to do that, bro. I always used to be like fearful that, like, oh, what are people going to think of me sitting by myself? Or what are people are they going to think I'm weird because I'm alone? Or I even felt awkward too. I would just be on my phone trying to look busy. But then I learned that no, throughout life, you have to get used to being alone, because you are with yourself more than anyone will ever be in your entire life. Even if you're married and you have kids, you will always be the only one that is in your own presence, and you have to be happy with that. And I've learned that when you can become a master at being alone, you can do anything in life, bro. You can do anything. But I wanted to ask you, because I was sharing a little bit about my birthday. Instead of one day, I celebrated every day, bro. Not, I didn't ball out and do, something crazy. I I really thought to myself, what am I grateful for? What am I proud of myself for accomplishing? Who am I proud to have in my circle? I just did a lot of reflecting. And then, one week I bought some Balenciagas. The next week went to Louis Vuitton. And the next week I did a party. So I did celebrate. I balled out a little bit, but I really learned to celebrate myself in a way that I'm proud of myself, because only you can, like I said in one of my reels, only you will be your biggest supporter and biggest cheerleader. You have to believe in yourself when no one else can. So what would you say in your definition does it mean to love yourself, and how can someone learn how to love themselves if they don't really love themselves?
Yeah, like you said, self-love starts with you in the inside. A lot of times we try to find self-love on the outside, or try to find that, or find or fill that void with somebody else or something exterior. When all in actuality, everything that means the most to you comes from the inside or the interior of you. Like, you literally cannot love anybody else unless you get to that point of loving yourself. Like, I don't care what you have to do. I don't care what you got to go through, but get to that point of putting you first, and not to where you're neglecting everybody else, but putting all that focus into you so you can truly start to know the value of you. If you don't know the value or know your self-love, then anybody on the outside can value you and tell you how much you're truly worth. And so to get to that point, it's going to take some crushing. It's going to take some weeding. It's going to take some getting down to the point where you might have to even break yourself down. But if you got to break yourself down just to build yourself back up, that's the best foundation you will ever get through in life. Think about the difference between a house. If the foundation isn't built to last forever, then you're going to get a house that's only going to last 5 years. But if you build your foundation off self-love, dedication to yourself, self-worth, humbleness, all of that, your foundation will last 40, 50 years. It just depends on what you're trying to do when it comes to that.
That's amazing you said that, Ahmad. And how did you learn what your self-worth was? How did you learn what your value was?
Well, I understood that some people will do anything or take anything away from me, and I just sat there and just allowed it to happen. Like, literally, I had to teach people how to treat me. I had to teach people how to talk to me. Because at one point in time, I was so nice and so ready to help other people that I was pouring from an empty cup. But then when I realized, all right, Ahmad, you got to fill your own cup back up, and then protect it sometimes too. And stop trying to be selective and pick and choose who I want to help or who I want to save. When all the actuality at the stage, God is actually sending those people to me that I need help, And so I started finding my self-worth by putting more worth in the environment around me, or telling or teaching people my worth, So that's just how I learned about it.
That's definitely, I resonate with that, bro, because before too, I didn't know what I was worth. And like you said too, I was a nice guy. I was always trying to help everyone. I think it's even worse for people who are givers, because we give so much, bro, so much. And, we're already taught, it's in the Bible, it says it's better to give than to receive. It's just something we're brought up with to always want to give. I don't know. It's a good feeling that you get when you're giving to people. And not everyone in this world are givers. I had to learn that not everyone in this world will give. A lot of people in this world will just take, and they can live with that. For me, I'm not like that, bro. I've always have given too much, though. So many relationships that have failed, I always was giving too much, that now that I look back and reflect, that I always gave too much. It wasn't proportionate. I wasn't getting the same as I received. But it doesn't always have to be, okay, if I give this much, I better get this much in return. Sometimes it's not always an equal exchange of what you give, but it's more of a fact of, I want to give, and I don't expect anything in return, and I'm going to leave it up to that person to reciprocate. And if they don't reciprocate after time and time again, you keep giving. Now, like you said, you're pouring yourself into someone else. And I love what you said in one of your reels. When you see the potential in someone else that doesn't even see their own potential in themselves, that was fire, bro. That was fire. I was like, wow, that's exactly what I was doing. I was giving too much, and these people didn't even appreciate what you had to give.
And to add to that, it's like if you're a giver in a world full of takers, you gotta have boundaries. Because if not, takers don't have any. They'll take from you until you run dry. And guess what? They're gonna go to the next person, and they're gonna go to the next person. But just like when it comes to Adam and Eve or the apple, right? Literally, a person can keep biting from different apples, taking from different people. But the different thing about you is the fact that they'll never get that same taste again when they bit into your apple. They'll never get that same anointing, that same love, that same longevity, or that peace. Like that's just truly how it is. So regardless of what happens for them, the people that take, they'll understand that they went through different people or experienced you, and that's a taste they'll never get again. Damn, that's good. I like that.
That was a good one, bro. I like. Do you think that people who are takers are they necessarily? It's just them being evil, or would you say that's an evil characteristic that they just want to take, or are they just not aware? Because I'm trying to always discern the difference. Because I see people and I really connect with people more that are givers, and the people that always just want to take. I never want to spend time with them. It's an energy they give off. It's subconscious. You don't even say anything, but you feel it that these guys or girls are just trying to take, and they're only your friend because they want something from you, or they're gonna benefit from like being in your presence or whatever, And going back to the question, would you say people who take and always just take, it's evil, or is it more so they're just not aware of what they're doing? And can that be corrected?
The people who are aware of what they're doing and still take. I'm gonna say that's some type of evil, or sometimes something or spirit may be in that person. But the people who are unaware, sometimes they were built based off of taking from other people, especially from childhood. Like think about it. Some people didn't grow up in a good manner. Some people didn't have the same opportunities, so they had to, once again, go based off survival. And survival can create so many different avenues and paths to other, personality traits or other feelings and emotions that make them want to take from other people, because sometimes they feel like they were taken away from good opportunities in life at an early age. So now their whole life, all they want to do is take from other people to make that feeling, feel a little bit easier and better to deal with, So even if people get to that place, like, hey, you can be a taker all you want to, but that's why isolation is so important and imperative. So that way you will know exactly who and what needs to be around you to allow you to grow even more, not just any random person. So you always got to watch your environment.
I feel you on that. Watch your environment, watch the people in your circle too. And I want to go a little bit into, about the taking and the survival, because a little bit about my past relationship. Before I learned my worth and before I was really aware of these are the red flags to look for in relationships, there was a lot of things that were going on now that I look back and that I overlooked because I put this person on a pedestal. And that was me not knowing my worth. And it also ties back to when I was working with my therapist and breakup specialist coach. They said, the reason we do that is because it's the relationship and the love that you never received as a kid from your mom, as men. And I look back at my life, I was like, when I even went home after the break, I was like, I even talked to my mom about it. I was trying to figure out, why do I do this with women? Because every relationship, it was the same. I always pedestalized the women. And I look back at it because during my childhood, and I'm not blaming my mom or anything, but it's just how you were brought up, and it's up to you to correct it. We would only receive affection and love or any form of words of affirmation whenever we did good things or we worked hard and made our mom happy. And it's nothing of her fault. It's just a byproduct. So when I recognize that, it's because of that. So I had to learn, no, I have to reward myself. I have to praise myself for doing these things and not expect other people, or else I'm just going to end up in the same exact relationship with a different face. Like one of your reels, you were talking about that too. If you don't cut the people off that hurt you, and if you don't cut that old version of who you were, you're just gonna end up with the same person, like exactly what you were saying in your reel, which I loved. But that was the biggest thing. What I learned was that you have to know what kind of love are you worthy of and what kind of love do you deserve. Because if you're with someone that just takes and you're a giver, you won't even realize it, bro, because you're just gonna keep giving and giving, and you're like wondering why they're not giving back, and now you're just chasing. And some people are not able to love back because they've gone through so much trauma. Like you said, some people do the survival mode, and they're just stuck in this mode. One of the things that I remember this person saying was, You know, everyone's only in your life temporary, and people just use each other for what they need, and they leave. And that was a red flag right there, but I overlooked it, and I was like, huh? And then it sit right with me, because I don't see people as things you use and you take from.
Yeah.
That individual, that's their values, that's how they were brought up. That's, I don't know. And when I heard that, I was like, what are you talking about? And I found out, after, getting broken up with, that I was used too. And I'm glad it happened. It made me grow. It made me learn. It made me protect myself more from giving too much. Because I think that sometimes in life, these things have to happen to you, because if you don't learn from it, it'll keep happening to you.
Over and over.
It's a lesson in life that if you don't listen the first time, or you don't see it the first time, it's going to keep happening. And it just kept happening until it was like really hurtful. Then I was like, okay, now I really need to learn how to fix this. So yeah, man, that was one of the biggest struggles. But what would you say that your biggest struggle is currently? Because you've already identified that you've had depression, you're working on it, you know what your worth is, you know what kind of love you deserve. But what is something you're struggling right now that you're trying to work on, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh yeah, no, that's real. Once again, I have the faith and I have the work. But recently I had a conversation with God, and he told me that Ahmad, you just got to keep jumping now. And I'm like, jumping? What you mean by that, God? Come on now. So, but literally he was like, it's two different people in the world right now. Yeah, like if you ever double dutched or did jump rope before, that moment right before you jump in, that anticipation where, if you're too patient, you may miss your opportunity to jump in. And if you're impatient, you might mess around and mess the whole jump rope or double dutch experience up. And I was like, God, which one am I? He was like, no, Maud, you're neither. You are already jumping. All you gotta do is keep jumping. And I'm like, okay, all right, God, I got it. But now I'm in the stage where I gotta continue to have the faith and the discipline, even when I don't know the true destination I'm going to. And that's the most scary part for me right now. It's like I'm following and whatever he's telling me to do, I'm going to do it. But then it's like I don't know the true destination, because once again, he knows exactly what he's doing. So that's my biggest struggle right now. Not knowing,
I completely know what you're talking about, bro, because I'm in the same boat. Because even for me, I moved to Prague, bro, because of love initially. And I didn't know what my mission or purpose was before. Now that I do know, I still feel like, am I on the right path? Am I doing what I'm destined to do? Or should I be doing this? Should I be doing this business? Should I be doing this? And sometimes as entrepreneurs, I think that's the hardest thing, is we're so fixated on achieving these goals and, building wealth, building more freedom for ourselves, our future family, leaving a legacy, that sometimes we fall into the shiny penny syndrome, where we're always looking at what's the next best thing, what's the next best thing. But when you know that you just got to trust God and just go where you feel like you're supposed to go, as dumb as that sounds, that's sometimes the best recipe for where you need to go in life. And I would say I definitely resonate with that too, Ahmad. Like, not knowing, is this the right way I should be going? Because you don't know the destination. You have an idea of where you got to go, but you don't know the exact destination.
There you go.
So
and even if we did know our exact destination, we would mess it up.
Yep.
We would mess it up during the process, man. Like we would stop working immediately. Like, oh, I'm gonna get there someday. But that's why it's always that mystery. That's why it's never, you could see it in a vision or a dream or whatever, but you're never given that exactly at that time or know that exact information, because we'll mess it up, man. Because we're human beings still.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true, Ahmad. Looking back at your life, who would you say was one of your biggest mentors or people that you looked up to that really helped you become who you are today? And why is that person your mentor?
Oh, my father, my dad, man. Oh, man. I mean, when I tell you, my dad has been one of the most, is the most impactful person in my life, physically, right? And it's because I've watched him become not just the man that he is today, but the father. A little backstory about him. I have a family of 9 brothers, brothers and sisters of 9. And so at a young age, he had to, go straight into work. At 16 years old, riding a bike, getting to work. And, he never kind of finished school, high school for that case. But now he's like the highest manager of a $1 billion company, and he's training people all over the world. So it goes to show you how his brag the richest story, and then yet still have all these kids he has to take care of, while still, you know, being in the military part-time, and then still teaching me how to be a man along with others. And he never missed a beat. And so, yeah, man, today it's like, God, how did you even do it? You know? So, yeah, that's a hero. He's not just an inspiration, but he's my hero, you know?
I love what you said. They're hero.
Yeah.
I love that your dad's your biggest mentor too. And one of my leaders in the military, um, his name's Chief Lewis.
Cool.
He and I, we were in Germany together. He was stationed there. He was the command chief of the base, and he told me that his mission is hero. His slogan is hero, helping everyone recognize opportunity. Hero, helping everyone recognize opportunity. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, that is so amazing. Because when you're sharing your message with the world, when you're, you know, filling into others and helping fill them up, you're helping them realize what their opportunity is. If they don't maybe know what their worth is, maybe they don't know what their mission or purpose is, maybe they don't love themselves. That's what this platform is for. And that I've learned that's what my mission is. But from that slogan, hero, I definitely see that you are applying the same thing and helping everyone else recognize the opportunity that they don't recognize in themselves.
Yeah. Don't is it difficult for you to see that you can see a whole lot in someone else, but they may not see it in themselves? Like, how does that make you feel?
It's an interesting experience, and I've learned about that too, because as introverts, I know we're more introverted. We have a different kind of energy too. Like when we're talking with people, like this gets me very energized, bro. This gets me very in deep contact and connection with someone. Whereas when I'm at networking events, it's just very like small talk about business. I don't connect. But to go to your question, like when you can see more in someone than they'd see in their own self, I think that it's because us as introverts, we're always more emotional based, and we're feeling like, how does this person show up? And this person that's in their own, you know, body, they don't really see or feel what their purpose is or what they can actually achieve in life, because they're too close in their everyday life. They don't sit down and reflect. Whereas us, we're always alone. We're introverts. We need to be alone to recharge. It gives us I like to call it our third eye, where we feel and see things that not a lot of other people can feel. Even when we got in contact, bro, just the vibe you were giving off, it was an amazing vibe. I could tell you have a good heart. You have a great message. It was instant chemistry. It was, bro, I was like, this guy has an amazing story. We have to share his message with the world. And not a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people can just pick up on meeting someone for the first time and know that, hey, this is a good person, you know, and this is a good person that's gone through some stuff that made them better. So to answer your question, I want to say it's kind of like our superpower, if we were to say we have superpowers. Because even like having this podcast, bro, everyone's always like, bro, like, how did you learn how to do a podcast? You're so good at speaking. And bro, I hated speaking, especially when I hated when I was security forces, when our leadership would come through the places we were at, we'd have to stand at attention, salute, give our post briefing where we say what we're doing and all. And I always had anxiety. I hated it. But going to Toastmasters and everything helped me get over that fear. But to go back to it, as introverts, we have this superpower, in my opinion, that we can feel and read people and know what their energy is more than other people can see in themselves, because we're spend so much time alone. I think that's also why too, bro. Sometimes when we're out too much around people all the time, it drains us because our senses are so sensitive to picking these things up. But when you're around noise all day and all these people, it's draining. And before, I used to think there was something wrong with me. I was always like, why do I feel weird? Why do I feel? It's kind of that same feeling as depression and like loneliness. It creeps in. But I find when I'm by myself and I'm able to recharge, I feel better. Or when I go to my uncle's churches on Sundays, it helps me feel better. But I want to close out the last point on the difference between loneliness and being alone. And how does that affect you as an entrepreneur, for one, and as a man of God, but also as a man on his mission and purpose? How does loneliness and being alone affect you, and what's the difference?
So I've always surrounded myself with people my whole life. Even growing up, like I said, I come from a family of 9. So my whole life, you know, up till 17, 18, I was around people. Military, I was around people. 19, I lived, by myself, and then my girlfriend moved in, and then a couple more years later, I had another girlfriend. So then always had people around me. And the moment that I had the opportunity to be by myself, I thought God was disciplining me. It was like I was so used to chaos that God, what is this peace? I thought peace was discipline because I didn't hear his voice and it was so peaceful. So loneliness and isolation, two totally different things. Like isolation is the opportunity for you to grow, and loneliness is the opportunity for you to not have contact or can't talk to anyone. It's a whole different. If anybody ever gets to the point that questioning if they need to go in isolation or if isolation will work, understand that when you plant a seed, it's isolated. But isn't it funny that it still grows multiple leaves? Like, really ask yourself that question. Because you're able to grow when you're isolated. So you'll be able to know what's really for you, what's not for you. And isolation bring out the best in you. But you just got to learn to find peace in it.
That was fire, bro. That was a good one too. That's something though. Before I would always confuse the difference between isolation and the feeling of loneliness. Because even we were talking the other day, I started to feel this feeling of loneliness really bad yesterday, which is weird because I'm always isolated. I'm by myself, which is fine. Like I work here in my house all day. My business is virtual, so I'm always by myself. Whereas when I was in the military, I was always around people, noise, and just going out and stuff. And I actually started to enjoy being alone and isolated because, like you said, that's where my growth happens when I'm isolated, when I can focus. I'm a big team player, but when I notice when I'm in groups, I'm not my best self where I can produce the most. Whereas when I'm by myself, I can really focus and do this and do that, which it's weird, but I think it's just how I am. But the loneliness factor, that's something I'm still trying to, I guess, not get good at, but accept because it's a feeling too. And I don't want to say that, I have a girlfriend, but I still feel lonely. It's not because of her, but it's just something we experience
Yeah.
as humans. Actually, my therapist even said that it's not even just entrepreneurs that experience loneliness. There's an actual epidemic of loneliness going around the world. People have never been more lonely than they are than today, especially after COVID when people were withdrawn and just staying in their house. But it's also because when we're isolated for so long, that feeling of loneliness is even more. So I think for me to close out, being able to just be okay with, for one, being isolated, it's okay, you need to grow, but being okay being lonely and just going through the emotion of, yeah, I feel lonely right now, but it's gonna be okay, it's gonna pass. It's just it's a feeling, and it's like every feeling, anger, frustration, being sad, being happy. It's a feeling you have to accept. And that's something I'm trying to learn more how to accept. Because there's days where I feel lonely and I'm like, oh, I need to go out with my friends so I can not feel this. Or I need to go out with my girlfriend so I don't feel lonely. I'm like, no, sit there and absorb it and be okay with it. Because like what I said at the beginning of the podcast, at the end of the day, you are the only person you spend the most time with is yourself. So you have to be okay with being lonely. So,
and I'd rather be by myself than rather surround myself with other people that I still feel lonely around. Like I don't want to surround myself with people that don't truly see me for me. So if I'm gonna find that peace by myself by being with me, I'd rather do that. So at this point, I don't but think it's loneliness. I think we just all have to stay in isolation. Like, don't put yourself around that environment of people. Like, I just can't. Me right now, I just necessarily can't. I gotta stay focused. That's just personally for me.
I hear you on that, bro. Staying focused is the biggest thing. But I want to close this out with one last question, man. I like to always ask, because even when I do a lot of reflection, I look back at my life, like what's one thing I would do differently? Not that, everything I've gone through, I don't regret that it happened, but there's some things I look back and I'm like, I could have done that differently. But to ask you, if you could go back in time and do one thing differently, or even tell yourself something that you wish you knew now that was going to help you grow, what would you do? Or what would you tell yourself?
That's a good question. Go back and say, I'll probably tell myself you need to listen. Listen to not just when you are warned, but listen and pay attention to what God is telling you around you. Like literally, I got so many notifications in different ways of warnings of things coming my way or me being attacked. So I still avoided it and said, bump it, I'm gonna just do what I want. And I ended up going through those stages of things that I probably should not have had to go through. I probably prolonged my purpose. But once again, I don't regret it. Like I'm thankful for everything I went through and things that I will go through today. I asked for it. So I'll take it.
That's amazing, bro. That's amazing. Always go through the things you go through in life, and you decide
Yeah.
if it's gonna be the death of you, or let you falter, or it's gonna be your biggest strength. So
Mhm.
I'm glad you were able to share your message today, bro. But to close things out, thank you so much, Ahmad, for one sharing your story with the world and what you're doing too, and also for your service. And thank you for inspiring me to be a better man and to be okay with sharing my vulnerabilities with the world too. So I want to thank you for that. And for everyone watching, if you guys got value out of this, definitely comment down below what is one thing that you loved the most about this episode, and also give Ahmad a follow on Instagram. Ahmad, what's your Instagram handle? I'll have it put down below.
Ahmad J Grant, AHMADJGRANT on Instagram and TikTok, and the same on YouTube as well. So make sure you check out that YouTube.
Well, and do you offer any like coaching services or business stuff that you want to put out there too?
Yeah, so definitely I got 3 different session types, motivation, self-love, and even like just a overall life coaching. But definitely those offers are owned by Linktree. If you want to check out anything on social media, or just check the link in my bios, it'll take you straight to my Calendly links, or even I have a free text message service that you can join and just get more my motivational message of the morning, and I personalize it straight for you, so it's free for your service.
Amazing. Thank you, brother. All right, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Give us a follow, share this video and message with someone that you feel like will help them grow and level up and help them become the best version of themselves. And as always, you guys, learn what your worth is and know what your worth is. Take care, everyone.